Welcome back, everybody, to the Cloud9 Fates NA Qualifier. Doa, Frodan, and Khroen here with you as we see who comes out triumphant in this finals day. But before we get into that, real quick clarification, because we are on more streams today than just the C9 stream. The Puma giveaway is only for fans in the Cloud9 chat. Just wanted to make sure you all knew that because we are on multiple different places today. So hashtag Puma in the Cloud9 chat specifically for a chance to win that giveaway. Just to reiterate that. That said, Grand Vice getting the win in game number 1, second place, Numano. And looking at these standings here, it's players like I like Hobos, Robinsong, Spencer that are really going to need to pick it up if they want to have a chance to win this thing or even hit that top 4, which is that auto qualification to the next qualifier, which is also a pretty big deal too, isn't it, Frodan?
Yes, we're on our way to the North American Regionals as seeds to the Set 4 World Championships, and your consistency throughout these qualifiers really help you get to that point. So an invite back would definitely be something preferable so they don't have to necessarily grind ladder nearly as much, and given that it would be the last qualifier, it would be very nice to have that under their belt and that reassurance.
Exactly. The more qualifier points, the merrier, right, Khroen?
Oh, definitely. Even if you don't get a first today, getting a top 4 to get that invite means a lot to a lot of players here. I mean, first you get a bunch more points, but everyone definitely at least aiming for that top 4. And GV8 coming out strong. Wanted to just, briefly go over. I think GV8 is so good at playing that early flexible win streak sort of play style.
Oh, yeah.
Oftentimes we do see GV8 well above the rest of the lobby in HP, and he can translate that so well into lobby wins, even against, all the other re-rollers. But yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to GV8 playing super, super well. But let's see if he's able to keep it up for the next 4 games, because we still got a lot more to go today.
Yeah, just to keep going with the GVA thing, because it's so much fun to talk about. We're going to start with his point of view here as we get into lobby number 2. But a lot of us have been watching GVA play for a long time. And I know, Frodan, you and I have both watched this guy stream so much. And one of the things I love about watching his stream specifically is that every round he's speaking out loud and he's saying, all right, is this unit maybe better? Is this unit maybe better? And he's thinking about all these like little things that can make his individual board strength better in the moment that involve a lot of like stuff you might not think about in terms of dropping certain synergies that seem strong for a champion that in that exact moment is going to be just strong enough to win in that next round. And I don't think anyone in the game is better at doing that specific thing than him right now.
Yeah, it's almost sometimes to a detriment. I think that in metas where it's very clear that you should kind of take a lane and like really dive deep into it in terms of the small nuances stuff, I think that's where GV8 loses some of his edges that he gains onto the rest of the field when the meta is a little bit more flex and open. That being said, it's very small edges, and he still ends up being like a top 25 player at worst, like if he's not top 10. And it's like, it just goes to show you that he's a really good, consistent player throughout all the different kinds of meta games. And I remember the first time we got to cast him back in set 2 for Rise of the Elements.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this guy's actually like really, really consistent. All the time I watch him play, he's just so open and powerful with his boards. And ever since then, I've been watching his stream, and I got my Twitch review, and GV8's like my second most watched stream of the year because I just downloaded all the knowledge from him every single morning.
No shock there. I like that you brought up the drawbacks of that too, because one of my favorite things about TFT in general is that every style is a double-edged sword. Like, it's gonna have its pros and it's gonna have its cons, because like you said, while it's good to be flexible, sometimes you do need to pick a lane. Sometimes you do need to not overthink things sometimes too in a round-to-round basis, which you can do if you're really focused on making little changes every round. Sometimes you just don't need to, and those unnecessary changes can cause you to lose rounds here and there. But every play style has its Achilles heel. But overall, I think if you're looking for someone to study to just like learn the game and learn it in a broad sense, GV8's a good person to watch. This game, he's got the TF2 early on, just getting that 2-star to try to just, again, be stronger in the moment for that one board. But what's he going to add to this? I do like the Nautilus for Vanguard. What would you go with here? Okay, he's just going to go Keeper. That's also a good defensive synergy.
Yeah, I think at this point, Keeper and Vanguard are kind of in tandem 1-to-1, but what he can do is start leaning towards what he has established as his 2-star, which is Twisted Fate. And so Twisted Fate is a cultist in a mage, so he's holding on to mages, he's holding on to keepers that can complement Elise. So that makes a lot of sense to me. He is going up against Numano, who's showing both Yasuo Chosen and Zed, and he has bows available, or rather one bow. So it looks
Hmm.
like Numano is going to be leaning more towards a focused reroll based strategy, which is the clash exactly what we saw previous game, which is Numano getting second with a bunch of reroll duelists, and Grand Vice kind of playing open and landing into a Kale in the late game. Let's take this chance to actually look at a different board here as well, since it's early
Sure.
game. A lot of boards can shift at any given moment. Is there a player that you want to watch here?
Let's check out. I like Hobos because he was so close to getting that top 4 last game, missed out on it by just a couple HPs. And sometimes it's did I say HPs? Just a couple HP. There you go. But it's fun to watch players like that that have
Oh,
just gone through something, and he finds the early fortune with the Darius. Interesting, because missing out like that can kind of be rough on the mental from time to time. So I want to see how he responds. He has a chance for 6 brands too, which is kind of probably the worst 3-star in the game right now, but it is kind of intriguing.
did he loaded dice or something? Why is there three
think so.
brands and a Braum in the shop? I don't understand. He's instead making gold with it, which I agree with. I think Brand is,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, one of the weakest, if not the weakest champion that you can 3-star in the game. But still, it's a 2-star, and
Yeah.
tempo is king. Finds a chosen Teemo, that's much better.
Ooh.
As Teemo's blind dart is really effective in these early stages of the game, especially if you go up against people who find like a chosen Yasuo, for example. They're just not going to do anything.
Oh yeah.
And his items are pretty nice for that. He does have a Deathblade available, but I think if he wants to stay open, he can also choose to go for a Zeke's.
I mean, he's got a couple directions, right? You can see him picking up the Zed and the Diana because you could go like Zed carry with Spirit, which is pretty common. You probably want a few more bows for that, but you've got that Zeke's like you just talked about, so you can power up the Zed that way. Otherwise, yeah, maybe you look at Dragon Soul as a possibility because of the 2 stars kind of popping up a little bit more. But either way, that Teemo too with the Spirit chosen in isolation is just going to be very strong. Like he might lose this round, he probably will, but in the process, he at least will kill. Ooh, I thought he'd kill more than just that. But hey, Lulu chosen. What can you say? Grand Vice
Yeah.
just hitting.
GVA hit the mage chosen Lulu right before we
Yeah.
switched, which complements exactly his strategy. So, for Hobos, it's very clear what he's on. He's on the fortune train. Let's go ahead and hop on board with another player who is on the verge of win streaking in KCI, as we will see what he gets as the last pick priority. Early Nass is chosen, early Spirit Sharpshooter dynamic going forward. So he's pretty open to a couple different possibilities if he wants
Hmm.
to opt for playing more flex versus more narrow. So I am curious to see what direction KCI wants to take this at the moment.
Yeah, let's watch. So he grabbed the sword. Didn't see what other items he had available on his bench here. Okay, he's got the Ionic Spark. He could build the Hex Tech, which is good on the Kindred early on, but also something that you can use on a variety of different champions. In terms of like you can put it on the Katarina, you can put it on well, I suppose you could even put it on a Morgana if you wanted to stick with the Siphoner route. Aurelion Soul, a good user of that too. He doesn't want to build it yet because when you're just a couple rounds out of the neutral round right now, a lot of times it is better to just save those item components, even if you think you can make something good, just to make sure you're not missing out on making something even better 2 rounds from now. Generally, you're not going to get a big enough power spike from slamming it right at 2.5 to make it worth it.
Yeah, there can be times where slamming on 2-5 is pretty useful. I would say in this instance, because he doesn't have a very strong direction with his Ionic Spark, like you mentioned, it's not really advisable at this moment when he's so close to the Krugs. So, I think a lot of times these kind of decisions take context, because if he had,
Right.
say, a Quicksilver, he could totally slam that Gunblade, knowing that he's going to try to commit to a Katarina, which just appeared in his shop and
Hmm.
is very intriguing to think about. KCI hesitates for a second, but at the same time, it would cost him some kind of economy. Either he would sell a pair, or he's willing to sacrifice 1 gold to do that. And it doesn't seem like that's what's interesting KCI here. So a lot of people, they'd be thinking about Katarina, they'd be thinking about Warlords, but not for KCI.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting actually, because with the item champion combination, it would be tempting to just pick up that Katarina and lose out on the 1 gold of interest for this round, because you've already got a couple Nidalees, so you only need 1 more to get Warlord online. So why not? Why not pay? It's essentially pay 4 gold for the Katarina, right? It's going to win that round. and gonna
Pays
not
off
pick it up. All right.
handsomely too because GV8 did not get its win streak through. So KCI versus
Ooh.
Grand Vice, the only players that were at 100 HP, and KCI gets that burst of gold, which is huge because you get that carryover through Krugs and PvE round. Kind of debating if he wants to pick up any other unit here besides the Nidalee. I think Nidalee is very good as a pickup, but
Yeah.
just gonna scout around and see other boards here. Do you want to switch at all and look at another player?
We could. I want to just say for a second now with the sword, maybe Talon is a little bit tempting here too, because if you have an enlightened route, that rod can become part of Umbrella Nomicon. He gets the bow as well. So we can swap away. Oh, GA for Talon? I don't know. We can swap away, but I'd be seriously considering grabbing that Talon for a rainy day. We're gonna check out what Spencer is up to in the meantime, though. He's got a lot of bows. 2 bows, a
Wow.
glove, and a rod. 2 rods if you count the one on the Nidalee. So definitely something you can make something good out of.
Yes, this looks 100% like he's going to force Zed from this position,
Yeah.
and he's going to go for an aggressive 3-2 roll down. And you know what? I think in Spencer's mind, he needs to make a big high risk, high reward play like this. Taking that early losses the way he did and exiting at the bottom of the standings was not exactly what he wanted in that previous game.
Right.
And Zed is a comp that can help slingshot you even to first place. We saw Soji do the exact same thing yesterday on stream or either off stream, but it was on his stream, and he was in a desperate situation, and somehow Zed was able to pull him from the depths of the abyss. He's going up against KCI, which is a little bit scary because he is accepting the fact that he's likely to lose. But the good thing is that he is killing at least one unit, so he's not taking maximum damage. But this is a bad spot for Spencer. Let's go ahead and take a look at his 3-2 roll down and see if he can hit exactly what he's looking for.
Right. We saw him not put the Z in yet. So just kind of keeping that loss streak going for a little bit longer so he can get that little extra boost above 50 gold to do a little bit more rolling. This fight could take forever, but it looks like the Lulu does win it. Wow. Lulu chosen. The thing is, Frodan, like a lot of people were saying, like, I remember seeing a couple threads about it. We go, what? Okay. Sometimes you just hit. What can you say? There's the Akali as well, the Pike. All right. Well, now you've got your line. I mean, you can pick up the Akali and maybe do like the ninja option later, but actually on second thought, nah, you're just going Spirit Zed here. You've got 3 Slayer ready, and now this is suddenly an extremely strong board.
I can't believe that. The first shop that he's taking a look at is the Chosen Zed. Well, he's on the path to success. The second layer of it is he actually does need some pretty good items to go with it. Usually QSS is pretty powerful given that he has a glove already, so he can just combine it with the cloak and go from there. Runaan's Hurricane is also another consideration. But either way, Spencer is now back in business. So we can go ahead and switch off him since it's pretty clear what he's going to be up to. Let's go ahead and take a look at Numano, a player that's also at the bottom of the standings who's struggling a little bit and trying to find any semblance of a playable board here with the Yasuo 3 attempt. But it's not really working out so far here in stage 3. He's taking a lot of damage getting here.
Yeah, doing a little bit of re-rolling. We saw him just sell that Garen 3. I don't think that's really got much of a spot on his board. Could pick up a couple other duelists here if he's re-rolling anyway. Maybe you drop the Tristana here just to make room for another Fiora, but it's okay. So he's going to drop the Aurelia. I think that's fine because you don't need the Aurelia right this second. So he's so close to 3-starring a couple different things. Yasuo only 1 away, Fiora only 3 away. See if he's strong enough to survive, though, because, 50 HP at 3-3 is certainly concerning.
Yeah, so part of the problem is that, if you don't get online, you don't have the HP to play with. And when you level up, you're going to be in a position where you end up taking some bad matchups. Duelists do have a couple of matchups that feel like they get hard countered by. But I wonder if the spat's going to be enough to help pull him up. He can immediately go up to 6 duelist.
Yeah,
you can duelist Janna. That is one of the really common thing you do until you duelist Zillion into the late game. And then able to scale very nicely with all those resurrects because we do talk about how duelists can be quite paper thin in the late game.
Yeah, this could be a little bit of a turnaround, though. Like you said, duelist Janna is going to provide some more tankiness for his team in that she's going to be putting a lot more shields out faster. And, with the Callista, a little bit more damage. Obviously, everybody's going to be attacking faster with 6 duelist. And if he can maybe hit like a Yasuo 3 in the roll down, he's got a chance to maybe get something going. But 8-loss streak is not feeling too great for him right now. There's another Fiora. Janna. All right. Here comes the roll down. Teemo, other things he would consider picking up if he could. There's an Olaf. You could go duelist Olaf, but no, he's going to skip that. There's the Yasuo 3 and another Callista. So he's got one. He's going to immediately level, though, before throwing her in, which is a good thing to do. You want to make sure that you can actually level up and get 6 duelists in after that roll down. Is it enough to take Khroen, though? Khroen, one of the top players in the lobby right now.
Well, I mean, Yasuo 3 is a really big deal. I think the other aspect that, he's going to most likely just crush this fight. But I think one of the things to also consider is how does he handle the Fioras now, right? Because when you re-roll for 1 cost, you always feel like you want to maximize your chances. But by leveling from this point on, he's just going to try to see if he can naturally acquire the Fioras over the course of the next couple stages. Otherwise, that's just going to be sitting on his bench, and he rolled so much without actually having the benefits. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as we switch off here and take a look at someone else. Let's check in with Robin. We haven't met with him yet this game, and it seems like he's going to one of his signature builds that he loves playing, which is Aurelion Soul Mages. Yep. And right now, he's kind of on an awkward cusp of like a couple of really good synergies. He's got 4 mages, not 5. That's right between the breakpoints. He's got like an extra Elderwood in. So not exactly the smoothest board, but that's because he's yet to go to level 7 and be able to put in his 5th mage.
Now, he did win a Veigar 3 game yesterday, so he's one of the few players out there that's still willing to put it all on the line for the Veigar, but I would imagine as soon as he gets a replacement one, because he has the early Aurelion Soul, he is going to switch those items over. I think Aesol's just better right now in general, but it's important to note that if you're playing this build and you don't hit the early Aurelion Soul, which was the exact situation Robin Songs was in yesterday, you can still make that Veigar work. It's not as good as it was in just regular 4.0, but in 4.5, it's still a very valid comp. This Lulu, though. It's going to die, but...
one Lulu has some friends, and the other Lulu is alone in front of PC, wishing that some people would, message her back. And I think that at this point, for Robin, he's at a really comfortable middle of the road spot. Oh my God, Spencer already has Z3. Can you believe that? I just want to check in, look at the board real quick. He hit Z3 before he found 2 stars of other units like his Diana and his Kindred and his Teemo. So he is sitting pretty. But back over to Robin. He needs to find a way to ensure that his level 7 is smooth, because I'm not sure all of his cures are at 1 star, so he might have to roll some good amount of gold here in order to stabilize.
Yeah, I think you're probably pretty comfortable with that, because at least you can put in 6 Elderwood. He's already got it in fact. There's another tier and a glove, which is kind of nice. The glove can make a jeweled gauntlet. There's another Aurelion Soul, so pretty good roll down already for this. Needs to find another Veigar, though.
He has the ability to actually get the Hand of Justice onto Veigar if he wants as well. He equips it, and then the full item takes priority over the single component. So there's actually a real nice micro trick that you can use to pop off items. Or you can just sell the Veigar and give Aurelion Soul all of those items that you want.
Oh, yeah. You got it.
And I think that would be pretty nice, too.
I think the rough part is that he hasn't found a Veigar yet. So, if he dropped it, he would go down to 2 mage, which would not be great. But he has 7 Elderwood in, so he could just throw in one of that, like the TF or something. I think it'd be worth it to swap those items over to the Aurelion Soul now. Either way, the Aurelion Soul 2 still does a lot of damage, so he's going to be fine.
Another thing that feels really bad is the fact that you spent a pretty good portion of the game stacking the ability of Veigar. And as the fantasy of Veigar, as you mentioned, is the infinite scaling that you get off of Veigar, which is really fun. But at the same time, you lose all that progress from selling the champion. So that feels a little bit bad. But it is what it is, and you got to get those mages online. You got to get this Aurelion Soul with those items, and with this, Robin looks like he's in a really good position to nuke the board. Let's watch one fight and switch off of him and check in with other people in the lobby. And I'm excited to see how much damage this Aurelion Soul can do.
I would guess a lot, because he's got Jeweled Gauntlet and he's got that Hex Tech suit too. So not only is he going to do damage, but he's going to be very safe, because he's going to get that shield or that healing on the Aurelion Soul from the Hex Tech. How's it going to go against the Nasus? Good amount of damage here. And he's got enough of a front line with the Ornn and the 2 brawlers that I would imagine he should be able to survive this. Second shot there didn't hit the Nasus, though.
One thing we actually didn't even mention is the fact that he hit Ornn. I was actually so focused on the mage dynamic that having Ornn this early in the game is potentially such a big game changer that it might book Robin a ticket to top. guaranteed because he gets those items. He's barely going to lose, and he's going to continue to get artifacts from Ornn, which are just really powerful in the late stages of the game, especially if he finds like a refresher that they help give him 100 mana to double cast, or if he finds like really tanky items for Nunu so that Nunu can eventually eat some other opponents here.
Right. Yeah, if you get into that situation where maybe re-rolling the Nunu 3 becomes an option and you can get some tanky items on him, he can sometimes do more damage than Aurelion Soul. So you've got that sort of secondary carry option sometimes with the Nunu as well. Looking at what Burtosaurus is up to, though, he did go up to 4 Siphoner. He is relying on that Nasus 3, and I think 4 Siphoner is where it really comes alive. The Morellos is a bit of an interesting choice because it's not area of effect damage anymore with the Nasus. That was old Nasus that did this, not this Nasus. It's going to be okay, but I think it's a little bit of a subpar item. Either way, 4 Siphoner at this stage is going to be strong, especially with the 4 Divine buff as well.
Yeah, you know, Burt might be trying to cruise to a top 4. He finished in top 4 last game, so he might just be thinking play top 4. So you don't get BIS, the best in slot items for Nasus, but that's okay. And honestly, Nasus is such a versatile item holder that, you know, it's exactly as you mentioned. He can use Morels. It's not the best, but it's not like the absolute worst item either because he stays alive. He casts a lot. And if he's casting on 3 to 4 champions, that's kind of like AoE over time. Then you burn. So, yeah.
If he casts fast enough, I guess. It's kind of the Cassiopeia thing, right? Where back in set 3.5 in Galaxies, we had Cassiopeia that was a single target damage over time caster, basically. And yeah, if she was going fast enough, you could put it on a lot of people. So Morello's wasn't a bad item choice for her at the time either.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reacting to the lantern. Everybody getting swords. What looked like to be a glove as well.
Was it the chain list? I didn't see.
Everybody has Olaf on the table now, which is really scary. But Burt immediately jamming these offensive items onto Talon, which makes a lot of sense. Second Guardian Angel, which he can actually place onto Morgana, or he can make a Locket of the Iron Solari, which is another pretty solid Morgana item because you tend to want her front and centered. So pretty decent options, and everybody who isn't playing a damage-based comp like Robin is probably crying a little bit inside. They're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with 2 swords and a glove? Meanwhile, Bird's like, oh great, now I have full item suite for Talon. Yeah,
I mean, he got, one of the arguably, I think, perfect item combinations for Talon. GAIE is pretty stock, and then Divine Spatula is a great thing to put on there if you can't get like a Hand of Justice or like a Last Whisper. I feel like that spot is kind of negotiable, but Divine is one of my favorites to put on there. I like Hobos in the meantime. Does grab the Cultist Chosen Aatrox. So it is going to be 6 Cultists, maybe?
Well, he's really hard to go for Olaf carry because him, like everybody else, have found Olaf items. But the big problem is that all of his stuff is 1-star. It looks like his brain's melting a little bit from the amount of options that he has at his disposal, that he's not even prioritizing the best items onto the champions. He's kind of slow on the gun. Deathblade's supposed to go on Olaf here. The Hand of Justice can actually be placed on a variety of units, but you can just see that it happens even at the highest of high levels, right? Where players kind of scramble to put things on. They've been focused so much on their board transition. And we mentioned at the very beginning of the tournament that Hobos is a quick player, but even he gets in spots where it's really difficult to figure out what's the correct transition. And he found one that was okay, but he's still on Olaf 1, and his rolls were not really promising. And now that he has this loaded, he's going to try to go for it. He finds a Samira, which is actually another good unit or a good champion to use a lot of these items if you choose to go for it. Instead of itemizing Olaf, you could choose to itemize Samira with very similar items.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. She can use a variety of stuff. Puts a Hand of Justice on her. That'll be fine. Locket options. What's that third one there? Looks like couldn't tell. I think that might have been 2 cubes that landed on each other there, but we'll see. I just don't know about this Cultist Chosen Aatrox. I mean, I know he wants it for Vanguard. He wants a stronger front line, but at this point in the game, the Sejuani is probably enough in a pinch, and finding like a better Chosen, I think, would be a higher priority. But, he's sticking with it for now. It is tanky.
I like it. I think that, Sejuani Aatrox is a very powerful combination. Oh man, 1 Olaf away from the dream.
Yeah.
I think Sejuani Aatrox is a real surprisingly like really sturdy two-person army of a front line. And it ends up creating this dynamic where your opponent gets CC'd a lot and they have to really respect the positioning advantage that you get. And it just gives you time, right? And that's what he really needs. Olaf 1 is still actually quite a carry. It's just that he's super fragile. You just have
Right.
to rely on the time that's given you from that Aatrox. And you can see that Aatrox, as a chosen, still, despite taking full on aggression, was the last to die. So it goes to show you that, it's not the best case scenario for him, but it's still okay. And he finds Olaf 2, which is huge for him.
Yeah. That'll definitely boost the power level of his team right now. He's got that jewel gauntlet on Samira. I feel like I haven't seen that as often. Have you seen that before? I'm trying to think of how that exactly works with her, because I thought she only did attack damage.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure if he wanted to prioritize that versus Locket, but I guess in his mind, he already has so much frontline because of the Sejuani and the Aatrox.
Sure.
And so it looks like he's going to prioritize playing the Dragon Soul in. Oh no, he's playing against a Spencer who has a full power Spirit Zed comp, and Spencer hasn't really lost ever since he found that Zed, as he is going to shred through the backline. It's going to be an Olaf versus a Zed. That big stuff from Aatrox and the Sejuani in tandem keeps him alive, and that's just long enough for him to not get 8th place. And Hobos at this point is fighting for a potential 5th place or better.
Wow. All right. I'm never gonna say a bad thing about chosen Aatrox again. That was pretty clutch. But poor Numano going from a 2nd place finish in the first game to an 8th place finish in game number 2. So it's been a roller coaster already for him on the final day. Looking at Grand Vice's board again, he's went over to a chosen executioner Zaya. So still rolling with a little bit of Elderwood action. He's got the Vagar online with a good amount of damage there. But just shifting to a little bit different comp than we've seen in the past. Trying to find the 6 Elderwood, it looks like, but he's just still stuck at 5. No.
He put a 1-star Maokai by accident, I think. Because now he's playing 5 Elderwood.
5. Oh no.
That's awkward. I don't know if that's intentional, but I think at this point he is in dire straits. Anyways, he's going up. The winner of this will survive. The loser gets what looks like to be a bottom 3 or worse.
Oh, the feathers did not fly.
Oh no, little bit of a disaster there, but it looks like him and Hobos, at least he preserved enough HP for him to get 6th place, which every little bit helps. And you can see a little bit of the frantic scrambling going on in these kinds of situations when the health is that close between some players. They really try to squeeze out every little possible edge, but sometimes it causes them to flub a little bit.
Yeah, missing the Nunu definitely hurt a lot there. Not able to get 6 Elderwood in. Maybe the 2nd Maokai, if the spell goes off, it at least hurts their attack speed on the other side. I don't know, but 6th is better than 7th. Poor I Like Hobos though, a 6th in the first map, then a 7th for him in game number 2. On board with KCI now as he does a little bit of scouting, because he is number 2 in the lobby right now and the only player on a win streak at the moment. And so the big question is, positioning wise, you can see him deciding on where to move his Kale. Now you got to do everything you can to keep that win streak going.
Yes, absolutely. He's doing a great job just protecting it. He's got the chosen Vanguard version of Aatrox with an Ornn to generate items. He's got Triforce and Divine Spatula onto the Zaya with Executioners. This is looking very solid. Balance, frontline, and backline. But look at that Samira go! Samira 1-star from Shuram, able to bail out that situation, and Shuram hanging on by a thread. Still needs to win a couple more important fights, but top 4 is within reach for our open bracket hero.
I feel like Samira is just like the storyline destroyer, because every time you look at this the board, you're like, it's only a 1-star Samira. I won't worry about that too much. And then she just wrecks you. It's always like, I would have done great, but Samira.
That's right.
1 HP for sure.
For you, for your meddling Samiras. At this point, if you look at how the rest of the board is, it's very difficult to kind of pick out who is going to be winning this lobby. A couple of players do seem to be separating themselves, Robin, Spencer, and KCI. But for Burt and Shuram, there's an outside chance that they hit everything that they ever really need. Because you can look at Burt, he's playing half a board of 1-stars. If he hit the 2-star versions of everything, it's arguable that he could be in contention for top 2 as well.
Yeah. Gonna take a lot of damage right here though. This is going to be, well, not as bad of a loss as I expected, actually. The Lee Sin does kick one more off at the very end, so a better loss than we expected here. Shuram wins his round as well, so he'll stay alive at 1 HP, make it into 6-1 after this, and it's a 3-item Nexus minion. All right, what's the Ornn item? It's going to be Mana Zane. Okay, so that's the one that gives you a lot of 100 extra mana after you cast, I believe.
For sure. We're just do a little quick scout to see what people are getting. Wow, pretty decent items for his Swain for Burtosaurus.
Really good.
As well as the Sin. And then for Robin, he's gotten more mage items. He's got a Chalice and a Death Cap and a Zephyr Dude for the stun. And we don't have Shuram's POV as we mentioned before. So these are the items. Let's stay on Robin's POV and see what he can do, because this Aurelion Soul hit hard already. But can you imagine yet another opportunity to buff it? It does make positioning a little weird, because it does seem like Lulu has 3 items on her, so you can't just stack the Chalice onto her there. But
yeah, I wonder if do you think maybe you use this to buff up the Zaya instead? Maybe Chalice on Rakan? Or because otherwise the positioning does get kind of awkward, because this configuration on the board is what keeps Aurelion Soul safe. Yeah, I kind of figured we'd see him try to just load a little bit more damage into the Zaya that way. I like putting the Nunu next to it as well. That just makes a Chomp do a little bit more damage and gives him the better chance of just eating somebody. Zephyr on the Aurelia 1, not super useful. KCI though, big Aatrox ultimate. Oh, that's set though. Setting up maybe some kills for the Zaya, but I don't know. It's hard to keep a good Kale down, isn't it?
Yeah, the Kale is just completely protected, having, what many people consider to be the best frontline in the game through a Sejuani, Aatrox, and an Ornn. That's like with a chosen Vanguard. And then you have like Zillion to back them up. It's just really hard to penetrate that front line without armor reduction of any kind. That's where Yone comes in, or Last Whisper. But he's playing a mage-based composition, so he doesn't have a use of it. The one thing that he could capitalize is this Rocket Arm, which is basically the Blitzcrank hook in the form of the Ornn artifact. And he can maybe pull Kale out if they don't have Quicksilver. But he's also got some other big problems. There's other threats like Spencer, who still has yet to really lose in quite some time. He's lost once, I believe, so it broke his win streak, but he's still a big threat.
Well, he picked a win streak right back up after losing. Yeah, he dropped from 52 to 43, so 9 HP loss in like a long time. It's Burt, though, versus Robin Songs on this particular board. And it looks like it should be an easy win for Burt, since that Talon, is not going to make it. Lee Sin did get 1 kick, but that's about it. And that's going to be Burtosaurus exiting in 4th. So that means his day has been a 3rd and a 4th. So 2 top 4 finishes. Definitely solid for Burtosaurus starting out here today.
Yeah, very consistent start to Burt. And then in the other side, the flippening Doa is happening. Last game, if you recall, we had a 7th and 8th place finished from Robin and Spencer. And guess what? They might be in contention for top 2. Trying to go show you how closely matched a lot of these players are. And also about how volatile it can truly be. You can't really ever feel like you're safe just because you got that win. And for players like Burt and KCI, it's kind of like free rolling, because KCI got 4th and it looks like he might get 3rd here in this game.
Yep, exactly. So again, like 2 top 4 finishes is so good. Robin Song is down to 1 life left now. Spencer the one on the win streak, but you mentioned a player going 8th, KCI taking some damage there, and the thing is there's no bad players in this lobby. I don't think we've really had bad players all weekend. It's just a matter of there's an 8th place spot. Somebody needs to take it each game. But like you said, I think this series is not going to be over until the very last game. That's for sure. As far as who's going to take those top 4 spots.
It often does. You could have TFT players, TFT pros play 20 games in a row and feel like if they had 2 more games, they could really show off their true skill. And I think that, in this case, 5 definitely is not like the perfect number, but it's definitely a reasonable number to expect. Speaking of reasonable, KCI holding extra Kales did not go for another Kale 2 because he doesn't need that. In fact, he just needs more time and more stall. And one thing that's really concerning about KCI is he does not have a Quicksilver for his Kale. So if he matches up into Robin and gets pulled by the rocket propeller, he is going to be in trouble. He did, I believe, play a Ghost last round. So now the damage will be in full, and he can't avoid a death if he loses here.
Ooh, I like this, though. Putting the Lee Sin there, he doesn't run into the Aatrox, so he runs into the Zed instead. Spencer's Zed comp. Ooh, that Zed dropped so fast, though. Can he survive the rest of the onslaught, though? That's still a lot of strong stuff. The Kale barely lives. Ooh, and KCI stays alive. Everybody's been able to take rounds off of pretty much everybody so far. Oh
Oh,
no, and Robin Song's out in third though. So improving from seventh to third, game to game. Not a bad result. Obviously would have won a top 2 with that board, but hey, you'll take it.
yeah, very much so. I'm actually surprised that Samir 2 is not able to close that out for Spencer, because if Spencer killed KCI, that'd be a double kill in the first place for Spencer.
Right.
I don't know how I feel about his current state if Samir 2 isn't enough to carry at that point. I feel like his board is capped. It can't actually get that much stronger at this point. Everything is 2-starred except for Zed, who's 3-starred. So, like, what else can you really ask for? Just needs to get better Shroud options. Needs to
Yeah.
hit the KO. And he
I think-
does. It lines up perfectly for Kale and Zillion, so that the res and the activation on Kale is going to be a little bit slower. Now Zed is not dealt with. That
That'll
is going
do
to be lobby 2 goes from Spencer, who got 8th in the first lobby, 1st in the second lobby, and now he is back in contention for top of today.
Yeah, I think just a good example of proper positioning to win that last game. Like you said, the Zed just evaporated too quickly the round before, so he moves it in a place where it's going to get a little bit of room. Zed lives, everything else dies. Easy win for Spencer's in that case. Khroen, as you were watching that lobby, what jumped out to you?
Yeah, honestly, this game had a lot of fantastic moments that I'd love to be able to go to a full segment for each of them. Probably can't do that. But
Yeah.
first thing to note, I think, is reroll comps are a little bit volatile. Numano taking the same duelist comp from a second and then going 8th with it. It's unfortunate. Those compositions just inherently are volatile. And there was some uncharacteristic misplays, I think, as well from Hobos and GV8 that we caught on the broadcast. The pressure does get to these players at this level of play, and we don't see misplays like it that often, but it does happen. Got to shake it off and kind of go next. Also, Spencer kind of had the game of his life there. Hit everything on 3-2 with the Zed chosen and the Force Spirit. Sometimes you play the game, sometimes the game plays itself. Obviously, that's a little bit of exaggeration, but you got to be a really good player to recognize what correct decisions to make. But for all of these players who are so good, that is a pretty obvious decision to go, and it worked out fantastically for Spencer.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but while we are taking that break, if you are in the Cloud9 Twitch chat specifically, you can type in hashtag Puma for a chance to win a $100 gift card. Got to be 18, got to be a legal resident of the US, but if you fit the qualifications, hashtag Puma in the Cloud9 Twitch chat and give yourself a chance to get that, because there's some awesome stuff you can pick up. So enjoy that. We'll be back with game number 3 here on the Cloud9 Fates NA qualifiers right after this.